but tell us about this piece now and also what you do with the community and about your shop.
So my name is Claudia. I am so loca, which is so crazy, and I'm literally like obsessed with sewing. Like I've been sewing since I was 8, and I had like this obsession with like just like very nostalgic with like where sewing comes from and like, you know, who represented sewing when I was growing up. And so I feel like I finally became the abuelita without actually having grandkids. So I'm like channeling it with like my hair and everything like that. But I get really like emotional when talking about this piece. So if I ugly cry, like excuse me. But I was really, really honored that like Katie had asked me to be a part of it, because it's like I've never really had been part of like an art show before. And to me, I was like, I had like this kind of like feeling of like, who am I? Am I an artist? Like I just sew, and like, who am I, you know? And I feel like during the past 2 years, like I really had like this identity issue with like me being creative and like channeling all that kind of stuff. And finally I was like, I think I'm an artist. So I'm here, and I'm like, oh God, you know? So I really like went in there where I really wanted there to be like a lot of representation, because it's like for a really long time, like I was like so ashamed of like knowing how to speak Spanish, being like super brown and like dark. And I felt like that happened because there was no representation, you know, and there was no representation in like the movies or like TV or anything like that. And so for me, I was like, I am feeding and healing like my inner like child to like basically be like, I wanted someone to look like me to be in spaces like this. And I really wanted to like make sure that I put Simón Carnal, I'm first generation, which translates to like, of course I'm first generation. And like I'm first generation like daughter of immigrants. And like my parents, like I just interviewed my mom for this project that I'm working on, and just hearing like her journey coming here, like I started to think like, you know, she like sacrificed all of this and like really risked going through like this really dangerous like border and like all those kind of things. And I was like, if my mom came to this country, had 6 kids, owned property, became like this really like, you know, powerful person like within our family and like a huge staple, like I was like, I could do anything that I set my mind to. And that representation of like, I am first generation, like really means that we're resilient as fuck. And to me, like, I'm like, you know, it just, like, it feels like my heart to be able to like have that representation of everyone that's first generation that doesn't have this opportunity. I'm bringing you with me to basically be like, we're first generation and we're here, and we should be proud of that. You know, because it's like I remember translating for my parents and being like, oh God, like, you know, parent-teacher conference and all that kind of stuff, and it was really difficult. And I was, for a really long time, I was really ashamed of that, of like just being like, wow, you know, my parents don't speak English, and like having like those kind of like conversations of just kind of being like, are we like second-class citizens, you know, and just kind of feeling like we weren't important. And like being able to like have this piece here, like I'm like, I would have never imagined being in this space. Aww. You know? And so yeah, I had such a fun time. Like I was like texting my husband during the whole entire time, and I'm like, I love this. I love sewing like so much, and like I love projects like this because I really get to like just kind of do whatever I want and like put in like a lot of time and energy and like little like detailing to it. So I really, really appreciate Katie like reaching out and me just being like, oh my God, my stuff's gonna be in a museum. So I kind of freaked out, and I'm still freaking out. So thank you.